Along with my daughter, Alisha Cipriano, I am very excited to welcome you all tonight. While we're still facing some challenges with COVID-19, Zoom remains the most safe and fun way for us to gather and celebrate and to say thank you to all of you and all the ones who are not here tonight, all our line of Judas, for their continuing support of our Jewish community. We have 30 Lions on the call tonight with our special guest, Chef Debbie Raviv. Feel free to scroll through the pages on your screen to see your friends and family. Also, if you want to ask a question during the program, you can unmute and ask the question, or you can wait till the end of the program to ask your question. Now, since this is our first Line of Judah event of the Jewish New Year, as well as our new campaign year, I would love it if you would join me in a Shehechianu. Ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, our God, sovereign of all, who has kept us alive, sustained us, and brought us to this day. Amen. Now I am honored to introduce Carolyn Gitlin. Carolyn just completed her term as chair of the board of our local federation, but because she is so dedicated and capable, the Jewish Federations of North America have chosen her to be the National Women's Philanthropy Chair for 2022-23. We are so proud of you, Carolyn, and so lucky to have you in our community.
Oh, Robin, thank you so much. And I love being here with my new hat on, although it feels a little like I'm just at home with family, truthfully. It's not like I'm zooming into a community and giving this big speech. And by the way, I have a hoarse voice, so I'm sorry. It was way worse last week when I was asked to speak in a community, and Dana, thankfully is my best friend, came in and was my voice. And I said 3 sentences and then she read my remarks because I couldn't speak. So here I am tonight. But I love this event when we all get together in Hartford. And Robin, this was supposed to be at your beautiful home. And it's an event that always has an air of excitement. And we all come, a little more dressed up. And we're just really happy to be together and bond together over women who are really dedicated to our community. And Jill Delitsky, I know they're going to introduce you in a minute, but I'm so excited that tonight is your first night stepping out as the new Women's Philanthropy Chair. We're so lucky you learned from one of the best, Judy Schlossberg. You, Jill, are going to lead this community with your wise and thoughtful and kind manner. And if you don't know Jill yet, trust me, you want to get to know her because you will love her. And our community is so blessed to have her. And I can't thank you, Robin, or you, Alisha, the dynamic mother-daughter team being the co-chairs of this event. Thank you so much. And just so you know, my new role has given me some great opportunities. And part of that is I get to travel around the country meeting women's communities. And I always say, these women remind me of Hartford. I think all these women are like, but it always comes back to me. Hartford's the most special. Don't tell the other communities. But they're all doing these incredible things. And I actually am in total awe when I hear all of what they're doing. And then I say, we're actually doing all of that and like even more. And this community is so special. And I'm so proud that I'm a part of it. And when I go on the road, I talk about Hartford all the time. And I always say, Little Hartford. We always say that, like Little Hartford. Little Hartford has a lot of special things that come out of Little Hartford. Lori and Dana are shaking their heads because we always say that. I don't know if Jessica Zaks is on the call yet, but look at Dignity Grows. Jessica Zaks, our own lion from our community, started Dignity Grows. She's now partnered with Jewish Federations of North America. It's in 36 communities across the country. She has 10 to 12 more who are about to join. They had the first event in Philadelphia today with 250 totes packed, coming out of Little Hartford. And we really are a special community. And I see that as I travel around, and I'm so lucky that I call it our home. And I have to tell you, since I have the group of Lions, that I know you've heard that the Lion Conference was postponed. And what you should probably already know is that it is now in December 11th through the 13th of 2022. Mark your calendars. Lori Mandel will be sending you a million things, so don't worry. But I want you to know that I'm very lucky because under my term, it is actually the 50th year of the Lion. And so now, in January, when the conference was supposed to be, we are doing a kickoff of the 50th anniversary of the Lion, and you will see it everywhere. We are going to be doing a kickoff, events. It'll be in every marketing thing you ever get from National, because the 50th year of the Lion is very special. And then we'll be culminating the celebration at the Lion Conference in December of 2022. And I know you're all going to be there, joining Jill, who's the chair, and Dana, who's the chair of the board, and myself. And Hartford is going to be strong in numbers because I'm calling every single one of you, and I know you're coming. And I want you to know the future of the world is dependent on women like you. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's true. Women are strong. We are the leading philanthropists. And together, let's continue. We're going to feed the hungry. We're going to care for our Holocaust survivors. We're going to secure our communities. We're going to send our children to Jewish day camps and day schools. And we are going together to work to ensure that the Jewish community is thriving in Israel and around the world. And as always, I just want to thank all of you. You are so generous. You're the most unbelievable community. And I'm so proud to be in it with all of you. And I know we have a great night ahead of us with Deb. And now I'm handing it over to, I don't remember. Who am I handing it over to? Alisha.
Campaign
Share
video.
the video, then Jill.
Oh, a campaign video. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. And I love being here with you.
I see Federation as a central warehousing point, an umbrella organization that really helps us connect both within the Jewish community and beyond the Jewish community.
Federation to me is the glue, the connector that keeps everything in the community together.
We could not be the agency we are today if it weren't for the support we get from the Federation.
Federation really touches every facet of the community and enables the critical services and programs that meet both core needs but also enrich our community and enrich Jewish life.
Our partnership with Federation enables us to be part of the broader Jewish community and the broader society.
Together is also Jewish, Muslims, Christians, and all other faith communities and non-believers to be together. And all other minority groups that are there together, which are different based on their needs, perceptions, and choices that they're making. That is together.
Jew really is to celebrate life. Life is at the core of what we're all about, and to do everything within our power to enhance that priority, not only for ourselves, but for everyone. And we have wonderful partners who come together to help make that happen.
Hello, everyone. Wow, that was super inspiring. I love that line from Rabbi Rosen, that life is at the core of what we do. And I'm so happy to see everyone. I'm Jill Dolitsky, and I am your Women's Philanthropy Chair. This is the first year of my 2-year term, and I'm so excited and honored to be serving. I look forward to connecting with you in the days and weeks to come. My family and I moved here 15 years ago. We chose West Hartford because we wanted a strong Jewish community for us and our children. I took on this role because I believe a strong federation is the key to sustaining and growing the community that I love so dearly. And I get to start on a high note. At the end of August, we closed our 2021 annual campaign with great success. We raised $5 million for our Jewish community. Thank you to all of you for your generous support. We could not have done this without you. And out of that $5 million, the Women's Philanthropy Division contributing a whopping 30%. That number literally gives me the chills. Those are gifts that we gave in our own names as Women of Impact. Our 2022 annual campaign just kicked off, and we need your support now more than ever. Both COVID-19 and anti-Semitism are continuing to impact Jewish communities around the world. And Federation is working hard to ensure Jewish communities everywhere continue to thrive. As you probably know, along with our partners at the Jewish Community Foundation, and it's so good to have Gail here, we raised nearly $1 million last year just to help keep local Jewish institutions and families afloat during the pandemic. And through our international partners like JDC and the Jewish Agency for Israel, your gifts to the annual campaign help to ensure that impoverished Jews around the world and over 20,000 new immigrants to Israel received vital services during this difficult time. So what's new this fall? Well, we are working to secure legacy and endowment gifts to support our community now and in the future. We have fabulous partners in this work at the Jewish Community Foundation and at the Harold Grinspoon Foundation, where we're partnering on the Life and Legacy program, and the Zach's Family Foundation, where we're partnering on Endow Hartford 21 Challenge Match. Endowing a gift or leaving a Jewish legacy isn't as difficult as you might think, and you don't have to be rich. We'd be delighted to show you how or just discuss the possibilities. Please contact Lori Mandel at Federation or Catherine Gonnerman at the Jewish Community Foundation to learn more. We are also thrilled to welcome Leora Krinsky to our community. Leora is a bright light, and I got a chance to connect with her just last week. Leora is our new Associate Vice President of Development, and she joins us with several years nonprofit experience. She recently moved from Boston to West Hartford with her husband, Jesse, and her 3 children who are all enrolled at Solomon Schechter Day School. Now, before we introduce Debbie Raviv, our main host for the night, I want to recognize Dana Keller, the new chair of Federation's board, Carolyn Gitlin, who you just heard from, and I want to thank Robin Gellis and Alisha Cipriano for co-chairing this event. And finally, we have to thank the staff for their hard work. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes to make this happen. And I especially want to thank Lori Mandel, Haley Wasser, Brooke Helfin, Samantha Schoenberg, Susanna McNeil, Donna Wilbur, and Simi Benita. So without further ado, I turn it over to Alisha Cipriano to introduce my friend and chef extraordinaire, Deb Raviv.
Thank you so much, Jill. I'm Alisha Cipriano, as many of you know, and I'm honored to co-chair this Lion of Judah event with my mom, Robin Gellis. Before I introduce Chef Debbie, I want to encourage you to mark your calendars for June 1st for our Lion of Judah annual celebration, which will be held hopefully in person at my mother's home. Our guest speaker, Tanya Zuckerbrot, is the founder of F Factor, a nutritious lifestyle. I have been following Tanya for a while on Instagram, and I encourage you to check her out. She's fabulous. She's a little bit inspiring and a little bit guru on style and fashion, and she's really fun to follow not to mention great on nutrition. So now it's my honor to introduce our guest chef for the night, Deb Raviv. She is the owner of Koncierge Kitchen, which offers chef services as well as personal cooking instruction. Chef Debbie studied culinary arts and received her degree from the world-renowned Le Cordon Bleu Cooking School in Paris. She has extensive knowledge of Mediterranean and Asian, French and American cuisine, as well as pastry. Chef Debbie and her husband, Chen, have owned 2 restaurants in Connecticut. They live in West Hartford with their 3 children. Debbie, we are so excited to have you as our guest chef tonight. So let's start cooking.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I'm honored to be included among this amazing group of women. Some of you I know, some of you I don't know. I feel like most of you I've seen or met before. I really, my greatest joy in life, of course, outside of your children and your family, is cooking for people and teaching people how to cook. I always say that cooking is the ultimate giving. So tonight I want to give to you what I love to do. And I hope that it's enjoyable for you and that your family can eat what we make and that it inspires you and maybe gives you a little bit of, skills that you didn't have before. And we're going to keep it simple so that it's not something that you wouldn't be able to do at home if you're not cooking along with us tonight that you can replicate. So we're going to start with the Jerusalem Mix Grill. That's going to be our first thing tonight. And I just want to give you a 1-minute background on the Jerusalem Mix Grill. So that item, that style of cooking started back in the 1960s, maybe 1970s. There's a big argument in Israel about how this came about. And it's really an Israeli street food. So it started in Jerusalem at Machane Yehuda. So for everyone who's either traveled to Israel or visited that shuk in Jerusalem, there's lots of Jerusalem Mixed Grill. And they always would make it because the end of the night they would have leftover. So the chicken livers, the chicken hearts, chicken thighs, whatever they had left over would get thrown into a big pot and they would mix it all with the spices that make it Jerusalem Mixed Grill. And then always with caramelized sauteed onions. So we're going to start. For those of you who are cooking along with me, we're going to start by just first preparing the onions and then we'll do the chicken. So I use a separate cutting board for my onions than I do for my chicken. And as we're going along, if I'm going too quickly or you have any questions, please just feel free to jump in and ask, okay? We're going to start with the onions. So I like to use just regular Spanish onions, large ones. I find that to be the easiest ones to chop. It doesn't have to be chopped super fine. We're going to just slice it. First, we're going to turn on the stove to get your pan nice and hot. I use a grill pan and I use the smooth side of it so that nothing sticks. These are available pretty much anywhere. You can get it at Bed Bath & Beyond. You can get it in Crate & Barrel. If you don't have that, you can use a regular stainless steel pan. Nothing fancy. I don't like to cook with nonstick, so I don't use Teflon or any of that. The key to having your food not stick is getting the pan really hot so you get a nice sear and it creates this barrier between whatever you're cooking and the pan so it won't stick. So we're going to go ahead and turn on our pan on medium high, okay? And we're gonna get the onions ready, and I'm gonna put some oil right on the pan. Just about a tablespoon, it doesn't have to be too much.
Deb, can you see that last little tip you just got about how to not make our food stick? Because my food always sticks.
Okay, so
what was that little tip? I missed it, like I didn't totally get it.
Sure, absolutely. So if you get the pan really hot, so when I worked in a restaurant and I was a chef in a restaurant kitchen, and the training is you want the pan to be smoking hot. Most people at home are afraid when they see the oil smoking, they think it's gonna like create a fire. Turn your fan on, get it smoking hot, and then reduce the heat back to medium high. That will creates like a little barrier between what you're cooking
and the food.
Jessica, you might have to take over.
As you can tell, I'm quite the expert in the kitchen. So now we all learned how not to make our food stick to the counter. That's my expertise done.
I actually had a question
I'm
for you.
back. I don't know what happened. All right. So I'm just gonna make sure that this isn't, you don't want it, if you're gonna let it sit like I am for 5 or 10 minutes, you don't want it to be, on high heat the whole time, because then it can burn what you're making. All right, so we're just gonna take our onion and we're gonna cut it in half. Okay, just like that, and take off the peel. And I like to cook with a garbage. Every time I need to throw something away, I've got it right here, and you can just throw it into your bowl. So all your garbage and all your ends, everything right in the bowl, paper, and then at the end, you can dump that into the garbage. So I find that to be super helpful. We're just gonna take the onion and we're gonna slice it in little half moons. So what you're getting is looking like this. This is street food. This isn't something that needs to be super refined. Okay. One thing that is very helpful in the kitchen is going to be that you have a knife that's sharp. If you don't have a sharp knife, you really do risk cutting yourself, because the knife won't stay. And it's like I say all the time, an artist always has good tools. A chef needs to have good tools. So you need a really sharp knife and a good pan. You can really do anything. So we're going to do the other part of our onion. How many of you are cooking along tonight? Anyone? I saw a couple people, someone was sharpening her knife. So
Deb, I have 2 questions. One is, where do you get your knives sharpened? And 2 is, do you ever use cast iron pans?
I do use cast iron. Cast iron can stick. So I generally don't use cast iron that frequently. I do like a cast iron pan because it's nice and heavy, but it wouldn't be my go-to. It wouldn't be my first choice. I get my knives sharpened by myself at home. You can get your knives sharpened at Cook Shop Plus in West Hartford Center. You can get them sharpened at any hardware store. I think it's like $5 a knife. It's so worth it to have them sharpen it.
How often do you have them sharpened?
You could probably get away with a couple times a year. I mean, most people aren't even doing it at all. So I just feel like,
you can bring them to the butcher at Big Y and they do it for nothing in Avon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's great. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Do they do the
All
Cutco, or do I have to send the Cutco ones back?
That's what the onions look like. All right. And we're going to throw them right on the pan. See, mine is smoking. I'm going to turn on my fan because it's smoking.
Smoking, huh? Sorry, I'm really commentating, aren't I?
So Deb, when you turned the pan on, you put the oil on right away, right? You don't wait and then put the oil on?
I'm sorry, say that again?
I noticed when you turn the pan on, you put the oil on right away. Is that what you always do, and let the oil heat with the pan?
I do. I mean, you can wait and let the pan get a little hot. And that's okay. It doesn't really matter. And I'm just going to use tongs, and you can just let it kind of caramelize. You want it not to burn, but you want color. So I'm going to leave them be right over there. And I'm going to do a little salt and pepper on those, just a little bit. Okay. And I'm just going to let that sit. One thing I find that when I'm teaching people to cook, a lot of the home cooks make the mistake of what I call playing with the food. They're constantly touching the food. They want to flip the fish right away. They want to move the steak. Let the food sit. That's where you're going to get it sticking. It needs 2 to 3 minutes to create that sear that I was talking about. So that's really important, is not to come back over here and just constantly play with it. And I know that's like what people want to do, but you got to try to stop yourself from doing that. So that will help you. Okay. While that's caramelizing, we're going to go and start chopping up the chicken and then go through the seasoning of the chicken. So I'm going to switch my board out so that I can use this one after. I always use a separate cutting board for meat, fish, or whatever you're using as a protein. I don't like to cut vegetables on the same cutting board that I cut raw food. So another little hack, pro hack, take a paper towel, get it a little damp, put it down on your counter and put your cutting board over it. That's gonna make it not move. I don't know, do you know when you're chopping and your cutting board's moving, you're gonna cut yourself? That's really dangerous. You just take a wet towel, or you could use a wet dish towel, same thing, underneath, okay? Gonna check on these.
Your directions for caramelized onions, I did mine already, is amazing. It's the easiest direction I've ever had. So thank you.
Deb, we lost your volume because we lost your other camera.
Myself. Oh, what did you say about the onions? I missed that. I'm sorry.
I said your directions were the simplest I've ever read, and I did some pre-prepping, and I think I really made caramelized onions, and I'm very excited. So thank you.
That's awesome. I love that. Good. It really isn't difficult. I cook, honestly, I'm going to say 4 nights a week at least I cook, and I don't spend more than 15 to 20 minutes cooking, whatever I'm making. It's pretty quick. If you just have right recipe, the right ingredients, you know, the right method, it's not difficult. I'm putting on gloves. I would say that I normally don't always wear gloves when I'm chopping raw chicken, but I'm going to do it tonight. And we're going to start, I'm going to start with the chicken breast. Okay, so I just have whole breasts. I like to rinse my chicken. Some people don't. I like to rinse the chicken off and I pat it dry. It's just something that I always do that. Really basic rough chop on the chicken. So you're just going to cut the chicken into strips about 1 inch thick, okay? And when you're cooking, you always want to cut things all the same way and then go back and then cut it into cubes, okay? And if you wanted to make it smaller cubes, you can. This is not something that you have to follow exactly, you know, what I'm doing for the shape. It doesn't matter. The chicken's going to cook the same. What is important is that all your pieces are similar size, because they'll cook at the same amount of time. When they're not the same size, some will get overcooked, some will be undercooked, and that's not what you want, okay? Am I going slow, fast enough for everybody?
Perfect.
Yes? Okay.
Deb, can
All
I
right.
ask you a quick question about your olive oil? I see
Of
that
course.
the recipe calls for olive oil, but we always hear in cooking that you're not supposed to cook with olive oil on a high heat. What's your thoughts on all of that? Oh, did we lose you?
Reason it's throwing me out of the Zoom. What was that?
I was asking about your choice of oils, and you're cooking with olive oil, but and that's always what I cook with also, but you always read that they say not to cook with olive oil on a high heat because it burns quick or whatever. I don't know why, but that's what you're not supposed to cook with.
Okay, so that can be true. I always cook with olive oil unless I'm making like schnitzel, and then I'm going to use vegetable oil. Certain things you do use vegetable oil. For this recipe, olive oil is fine. Olive oil does have that burning. It can have that effect if you keep it too high, which is why I said you're going to take it to medium high and then keep it on medium so that it's not going to burn what you're doing. But that's true. Olive oil does not have the same burning temperature as regular vegetable oil. Vegetable oil can get much hotter than the olive oil. Olive oil will burn at a lower temperature.
Okay.
So, but I like to use olive oil. I just find the taste better. I think it's healthier. I mean,
It is much healthier for you.
It's much healthier. We rarely in my house use anything but olive oil. Like we're no butter, no
Deb,
butter.
how about avocado oil? I use that a lot.
Yeah, you know, my mom loves avocado oil. I like it. I don't like the flavor as much. I prefer olive oil, just regular.
I think it crisps things up really well.
Yeah, it's still gonna work and it's still gonna be fine as your option if that's what you want to use. I just prefer, I've always just cooked with olive oil. Most restaurants that you'll go to, like high-end restaurants, are gonna cook with an olive oil blend. So it's like a 60-40. It's gonna be 60% olive oil, they blend it with 40% vegetable oil. And that's also because of the cost, but also because, Jess, of what you were talking about how it burns at a lower temperature. Okay, so that's all. Yep.
I was just going to say that I find that I have to turn my stove to low when I cook with olive oil because I'm not that quick in the kitchen. And so like I turn my stove all the way down to low and cook slowly because it does, at least on my gas range, it really burns if I put it up like even medium high.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I cook on gas as well. And I think that when you cook on induction, it can also get really hot. Depends, you know your stove, so you kind of have to know. I turn the onions, as you can see, they're pretty caramelized, and it's on low right now. But the other side of my pan, which is why I like to use the grill pan, I don't have to use two separate pans. I can use one pan. I'm going to throw the chicken on while the onions are still there, unless they're done, and then I'll take them off. So that's all the chicken breasts ready to go. Now we're going to do the thighs. Okay, the chicken thighs, a lot of people will ask, well, I don't like to eat the chicken thighs, they're fatty. It's a personal preference. It's whatever you want. There's no rules. You can use whatever kind of chicken you like. The chicken thighs, I was really against the chicken thighs. And then when I met my husband 22 years ago, he's Israeli, and they only eat chicken thighs. And he's like, why do you only eat the white meat? It has no flavor. So I sort of started getting into the chicken thighs and mixing it together. And that's why I did that in this recipe, is that I like both together. I don't like all the dark meat. I just like the flavor from the dark meat. And you don't have to separate it and cook it separately. Cook everything together. I'm just gonna cube this up. I'm trying to keep it consistent with the same size that I did the chicken breast.
Ruh-roh.
Debbie, I think you froze again.
Debbie, can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
You can see both froze. If you look at the flame, it hasn't moved.
Yeah.
Okay. She pulled out a pan, but it's really not a pan. It looks like the thing you make waffles on.
Yeah, that she said they call it a grill pan.
Grill pan, thank you. Well, this is fun. It's making me hungry.
I don't have a flat grill pan. My grill pan has like the ridges, like you would see the searing on an outdoor grill.
Yeah,
that's something to investigate.
I use cast iron.
I think hers is double-sided.
Oh, very interesting.
Because she said she uses the flat side, insinuating that there's a bumpy side.
There is, because I have it and one side's bumpy and one side's flat. Haley, maybe your other side you don't realize you can use.
Yeah, I'll have to investigate. This is
Carolyn, when was the last time you used that grill pan?
I haven't used that one in a little while. I haven't made a lot of pancakes lately. I don't have any kids home.
Did somebody maybe text her and tell her?
I did. I texted her.
Okay, great.
We could all just have a sing along or something.
Go ahead, Carolyn. You lead us.
Because my voice is stellar right now.
Yeah, when Chef Debbie comes back, she may want to remind her kids not to use the internet while she's. I'm wondering if that could be the problem.
But they were all so relaxed and.
She is teenagers.
Oh, I hope that's not the reason.
Carolyn,
I'm going to show you my cast iron that I love.
See? Carolyn, you have everything out. You start cooking for everybody. You
know what? I felt like a traitor. I decided I would buy my chicken at Trader Joe's and make one stop. They were out of it.
Out of chicken. Wow.
Are you making the chicken dish without the chicken?
No. Well, no. They were out of the kosher chicken. So fortunately, I had some frozen chicken breasts in my freezer, so I was okay. But Listen, the cast iron pan is awesome. You season them and they're wonderful. Things do not stick.
I like that.
I love it.
I make frittatas in them all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So while we're waiting, one thing we forgot to mention at the beginning is that Alisha and Robin have a big mitzvah coming up this weekend. Alisha's son is being bar mitzvahed, so a big mazel tov.
Oh, wow.
Both Alisha and Robin.
Thanks so much.
Mazel tov.
Amazing that you were able to pull this
right.
It is quite amazing, and we hope we're not going to be frozen out of Tumblebrook's yards, but
like physically frozen with weather.
Physically frozen.
Cold. Get some heaters.
It's supposed to be a little chilly, but we're going to make the best of it, right? Because we don't want anyone getting COVID.
You're gonna dance so much, you'll be warm. You'll be fine.
Oh, there you are.
I hope so.
Oh.
Yeah. So apparently, I had
Everybody to
covered
bring-
the lens without realizing it. It's a long story. Anyway.
Alisha, the rain has passed, so I've been watching for you.
I know we're hoping. There was rain in the forecast, and that you can't control the weather, but I was freaking out.
You know what? And Alisha, once everybody starts dancing and gets moving, it won't matter that much.
Right.
Oh,
there's
Liz. Yay!
Internet. I've never had this problem in my house, and all of a sudden it's like I have no internet service. I think it's the two. I'm on my phone, my laptop, it won't even let me back in. So I'm here if that's okay.
Somebody
Oh
said
my God, look
somebody
at all
had
that
many
chicken.
children on.
I'm so sorry. Are we back?
We're
Yeah.
back. We all
Is
filled the
anybody else?
sun.
Is anybody else in your house on the internet, Deb?
I don't think so. I've got my kids watching the dogs, and
That shouldn't matter though, if someone else is on the internet. That shouldn't matter. I think it's because she had two sources. I think that messed it up. Yeah.
never done it.
Okay, we only need one.
Right.
I'm just put it on my phone, and I'll just bring you over to see if there's something you need to see over there.
Okay.
A lot of chicken. How many
All
pounds?
I'm almost done with the chicken. I just spent the last 5 minutes trying to figure out the internet, but my daughter came down and to the rescue.
Do you debone your thighs yourself, or do you buy them that way?
Yeah, I buy them boneless, skinless. No, I don't. I mean, I could, but it's a lot of time and energy. I don't see the value in doing that,
For example, I don't think they sell deboned thighs.
Yes,
But
they do. Yes, they do.
Yeah, they do.
Buy it boneless, skinless. Yeah, they absolutely do. We're going to go ahead and season the chicken. So what we do, I'm going to add oil to my pan because it's definitely now getting really hot because it took a little bit longer. So what I did is I took the onions off to show you, and I put them in a bowl, and they should look like that, nice and dark. Don't be afraid that they're dark. If they're light, they're not caramelized. The whole point is that they should look like a dark caramel color, okay? All right. Now, we're gonna do the spices. So we're gonna put the chicken in the bowl. You need a nice big mixing bowl. You don't want to use something too small that you can't mix it all around. I'm gonna get rid of the chicken, the cutting board, and that knife. And we're gonna season it. Now the seasoning, the history of the hawaj, I know that's not a seasoning that a lot of people know. Hawaj is actually a Yemenite seasoning. Did you find it in the store? I know that Tangiers carries it.
They sell it on Amazon as well if you wanted to buy it.
Will you show us up close?
Yeah, can you show us up?
Hawaj.
Never heard of it.
It's delicious. It's a little earthy. It's a Yemenite spice. It's used in a lot of like Yemen soups and things like that. I'm going to just read what this one has. Garlic, coriander, allspice, cumin, curry, black pepper, turmeric, cardamom, ginger, cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg. So you can see that here that it has like, it's very earthy, but it also has a little bit of that spiciness from the nutmeg, from the black pepper.
Wow.
You can Za'atar is another Middle Eastern spice that I cook with all the time. But za'atar has a more tangy flavor because it's got thyme, oregano. Za'atar has sumac in it, which gives it that tanginess. So it's very different from hawaj, but you can sort of get the same feeling for the Jerusalem mixed grill. But this is what makes it Jerusalem mixed grill, is by having this hawaj. In Israel, they'll only use hawaj in a Jerusalem mixed grill. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add to the chicken. I don't measure everything. You can if you want to. I eyeball it because I've been doing it for so long. So we're gonna put in the hawaj. We'll go right down the list of the directions. I did that first, but we're gonna go ahead and put in kosher salt. I only cook with kosher salt. So I don't ever use iodized salt unless you're baking. And a nice little generous portion of salt. Okay. The next thing we're gonna add to that is the ground turmeric. Be careful when you're using turmeric because it can stain your clothes, it stains your hands, all of that, but it's so good. The turmeric gives it a really earthy flavor. You're gonna see when you try it, it's delicious. It also gives it sort of that yellow curry color to it as well. Okay, and then we're gonna add some cumin.
Deb, can I ask a quick question about the salt, the iodized versus the, so why iodize when you're baking? What's the reason behind using it,
So iodized salt, the salt is much more potent. Kosher salt is not as sodium enriched, so the iodized salt has a lot of sodium. So you need such a small amount when you're baking. That's why it's always like a pinch or a teaspoon. You can use kosher salt. It's just coming from like a baking. I also have a baking background and I used to do pastry. When you're baking, it's precise. You want to follow exactly whatever the recipe calls for. Sometimes the chemistry of whatever you're baking doesn't always work. So I think that's why. And that would be my reasoning. Okay.
That's a great tip. Thank you.
Yeah. So I put in the ground cumin, we put in the hawaj, and the last thing that goes in is just a little bit of cinnamon, a teaspoon of cinnamon. And that's going to go right in. Okay. All right. So I'm going to take my gloves again, which I don't, here they are. That was my actual prop that I was using to prop up my phone over at the stove. And I'm going to mix it all together. And I'm going to add a little olive oil, just a little bit. Doesn't need a lot because I already have some going on the pan.
Do you always use gloves?
No, I don't always use gloves. I'm doing it here so that I don't have to wash my hands in between making everything. But I do like to use gloves when I'm cooking with turmeric. The turmeric will stain your manicure, it will stain your nails, it will stain your clothes. So you need to be careful with that. All right.
Good to know.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead. That's all mixed. Throw those away right here. And I'm going to put that all onto the pan. Right over here.
Carolyn Levine, you're doing a great job over there.
So I'm going to bring you over just so you can kind of see what's happening here. That's it. I'm going to let that sear. Like I said before, I'm going to give that a good 2 minutes. I'm not going to play with it. I'm not going to move it around because I want the chicken. I don't want it to stick to the bottom of the pan. So we're going to leave that right where it is. And that is going to take some time. That's not, that's about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how hot your pan is. One thing people tend to do with chicken is overcook it. But, everyone's so afraid. Nobody wants to eat raw chicken, me included. But at the same time, if you overcook your chicken, it becomes very rubbery. So there's a fine line between not cooking it enough. So if you're a new cook or an amateur chef, the way to do things is timing. Chicken always takes about 10 to 15 minutes if it's cubed or if it's I mean, the thinner pieces, like if you're doing a cutlet, those are like 7 to 8 minutes. But a cube of chicken, it's about 10 to 15. So you can kind of gauge it that way. And while that's cooking, you're going to take your lemon and you're just going to roll it. Rolling the lemon gets all the juice out. So if you roll your lemons, you're going to get all the juice out of them. I'm going to cut it in half.
That's a good fact.
I'm sorry?
That's a good fact. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you roll the lemons, roll your limes, anything citrus that you are juicing, you're going to roll. So whether it's oranges, grapefruits, you're going to roll it. It gets all the juice to come to the surface of the fruit.
Huh. Anybody else know that?
No, no one knows that.
See, you think you're telling us the most simple tidbits, and meanwhile, they're like life-changing.
I hope so.
Life-changing.
Right. I don't know.
Funny.
I don't know, life-changing, but like, you know, we're like, what? Rolls of lemon? That's awesome.
Okay. So I'm just tossing the chicken, mixing it all around. You're going to have to flip it at all the sides. All right. Then I'm going to take lemon. And I'm going to squeeze it right over the chicken. Doing this gives the chicken a brightness and the flavor. You taste it when you eat it. It's not going to be like eating lemon chicken, which is why I only use a half, but it just gives it like a little bit of a punch. I go right over the pan. That's it.
Before it's all cooked, squeeze it.
Yeah, you can do it halfway through. Yep. So the Jerusalem mix grill, as you can see, like that's it. We're done. It's simple. You're done. This just needs to cook. My onions are on the side. When it's finished, I'm going to mix it all together. We're going to put the onions right over it, and then we're going to put it on the side until we're ready for the and plate it together. So, you know, the history of the Jerusalem mixed grill is just like what I said, and it's really simple. People hear it and they go, well, I don't eat chicken liver and I don't eat chicken hearts. Traditionally, it's going to be served with organ meat. But like I said, now in August, and we went to Jerusalem and we had Jerusalem mixed grill. It's one of my husband's favorite things to eat, but he eats it with like the chicken livers. And I'm like, oh, I can't eat that. They actually had an option to have just chicken thighs, and they eat it in a pita with pickles and something called sabish, which is like a sweet mango sauce. It was
so good.
So delicious. Like whatever they put in there, I don't know. It's the best. The best.
Can you have it if you wanted to make it plant-based and use tofu? Could that work?
I'm sure that would be perfect. If you used firm, like extra firm tofu, I think it would be excellent.
I want to go get that spice. I love Tangiers.
Yes, get the hawaj. The hawaj is really what makes all the difference. You can put in the turmeric, you can put in the cumin, the cinnamon, but if you don't have like that particular spice, it gives it a whole new flavor that you probably haven't had before. It's different. It's a different flavor.
Yeah, my family on my mom's father's side are Yemenite Jews, and my great aunt, my whole life, she always made homemade hawaj, and she sent it to me from Israel, and that's like everyone is always saying my matzo ball soup. Like I'm known for my matzo ball soup, and that I mean now all these people on this call know that that's my secret ingredient. But she sends us hawaj, and she passed away a few years ago, and my mom I finished mine from her, and she gave me all of her hawaj that she had left from my great aunt. But it's like my favorite ingredient to cook with. You need the littlest amount, and it just gives everything so much flavor. And like I love that you just prepared this with that spice tonight, because it's like so close to home for me.
Yeah, I love that story. That's great. Yeah, that's the great thing about the Middle Eastern cooking is the history is so rich. You know, it's from Yemen. You have spices from Egypt, spices from Morocco. Like Israeli cooking is so influenced by the
whole Middle East. I love it.
Really love it. It is. And Lebanon too.
Jessica, did you say you put it into your chicken soup?
So that's my secret ingredient in my matzo ball soup, and it gives it the best flavor.
Wow, interesting.
Oh, how much?
You can use Hawaii in anything, but as Jessica was saying, Hawaii actually started as the Yemenite soup. It was Hawaii soup. So it is traditionally a soup base. So that doesn't surprise me that if you put it in your matzo ball soup, it's fantastic. I'm going to try that. I've never done that before. That's a great idea.
Awesome. I'm going to buy it.
I'm going to bring you over just to let you guys see what's going on with the chicken. It's looking pretty good, right?
I love that you cook your whole dinner on one pan. That's like genius.
One pan, one bowl, easy peasy.
Debbie, I missed it. When you added the chicken, did you immediately stir it up with the onions, or did you let it like sear first?
No. I've got the onions over here.
Okay. I missed that whole step. Okay.
That's probably when I lost internet. I took the onions off and I reserved them on the side. And once the chicken's cooked, I'm going to put this over the chicken. And then I'm going to mix it all together.
Thank you.
All right. So that's at about, I would say 3-4 minutes left. I had quite a bit. I had, I have my kids here tonight for dinner, so they're all waiting to eat. Obviously, if you did less, like 2 pounds or a pound of chicken, it's going to cook quicker. I have a lot going on. The pan is completely full, so it's going to take a little bit longer. Are there any other questions about this particular dish before I kind of get the apple tart, everything ready and move on?
Oh, but I'm thinking your kids must be so hungry. It's 8:30.
You know what? My kids are used to eating late. So, they grew up in the restaurant business where we weren't home all the time, and the kids are used to eating late.
If they come in the kitchen, it's okay.
We normally eat around, I would say 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock. So they can wait another hour. It's okay. It's okay. I don't have any babies in the house anymore.
Deb, please repeat the name of your company that you're starting for my daughter-in-law who just got on. I wanted her to hear it. I want her to hear what you're doing. Just explain what you're doing for a minute with your new company.
Yep, it's called Koncierge Kitchen, Concierge with a K for concierge. It is private chefing, personal cooking instruction, private dinner parties. It's been really great actually during COVID. I've done so many private sit-down parties for parties of 6, parties of 8. I'm actually doing a Havdalah bar mitzvah service next, I think it's Saturday, October 30th. And then I'm doing December, I just got booked to do a 10-person sit-down holiday dinner. People still don't want to go out as much. So they bring me to their house. I do everything. I bring someone with me to clear, serve, we clean up. It's like you've never had someone in your kitchen. So it's really great. You can enjoy your evening.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's
really cool. And it's a great name. Very cool. Yeah. Delicious.
I'm going to leave this here. I'm going to turn off the fan because it's so loud, and it's pretty much done over there. And we're going to move on to the apple tart. The reason I'm going to do the apple tart before the couscous is because it goes into the oven for 15 minutes. And during that time, we're going to do the couscous. Okay. So the apple tart, I'm going to grab everything I need for that. And all of that is right here. Okay. We're going to move all of this over. All right. Now you can use whatever apples you like. It doesn't have to be Granny Smith, but Granny Smith tend to hold up really well in apple tart, which is why I like to use them. All right. So for your apple tart, you're going to take your apples. We'll get to the puff pastry. Your puff pastry should actually be out of the, should be in the fridge the day you're going to use it. You're going to take it out of the freezer, put it in the fridge, and when you're ready to use it, you can take it out of the fridge.
Like in the morning, if you were going to use it in the evening?
You can take it out in the afternoon. I mean, it's not gonna, nothing's gonna happen to it in the fridge. It's pretty much The last thing before we're going to start that, I'm going to add the onions right over. Okay. Just going to let that sit now. Pretty much that's done. And I should have said at the beginning was to preheat your oven to 375. So if you haven't done that and you're making this now, you're going to preheat your oven to 375. Depending on how old your oven is, it could come to temp quicker or not. All right. So for your apples, I'm going to show you two ways. So I use a Japanese mandolin. People are afraid of the mandolin. They're afraid of the word mandolin. It is not a scary piece of equipment. It looks like this. The Japanese mandolin, you can get it for $15, I think, at the Japanese market. It has a little on the bottom that you just turn. And when you turn it, it makes the blade go up or down. And that makes the thickness of whatever you're slicing. It's really simple. So if you're going to use Japanese mandolin, I'm going to show you how to use it. You do need to be careful. It does come with a guard for your hand so that you're not holding the actual vegetable or fruit. I've used it for so long that I'm not worried about that, but it does have a safety feature. If you're going to do it by hand, we're still going to cut it the same way, whether you're doing them by hand or whether you're doing it with a mandolin. You're just going to quarter your apples. I mean, you can use I'm sorry, you're not going to use an apple core to do this because it would split the apples into pieces that are going to be too difficult to cut. So I just take the apples and I cut them about a 1/4 inch thick. So that's going to be like that. So the reason, as you can see, to do this by hand, it's not difficult, but it requires more paying attention and it takes longer. You want your apples to look like this. You don't want them to be translucent, but you don't want them to be big chunks. Okay, so that's about a quarter inch thick. Okay. Now I'm going to show you on the mandolin how to cut them if you would like to do so. If you have a French mandolin, I have a French mandolin as well. I don't use it that often. It's much more bulky and difficult to use, and it's more dangerous. So the Japanese mandolin, you're just going to hold it with this little handle here, and I'm just going to take the side that I want to use to make a half moon, and I'm just going like that. You see? And if you're worried about it, cutting your fingers, don't go all the way down, with potatoes, whatever it is, but look how they come out perfect. They're like perfect half moons, and every single one of them is the same shape, which is what you can't get by doing it by hand, unless you're an absolute apple cutter expert and every single slice you make is the same. And it doesn't have to be, but I like to have everything kind of uniform and even, unless you're making like a rustic apple tart, which this is not. Okay. All right. So there's all the apples. Does anyone have any questions about the Japanese mandolin, or do you want me to show you how I cut it again with the knife? Everybody's good?
Good.
Yeah? Okay. I think everybody's made apple pies, apple tarts. This isn't, there's nothing life-changing over here on how to cut the apples. Maybe the Japanese mandolin is new for some people. It also comes with these little attachments. So if you want to make matchsticks potatoes, you could just do it like that. I love it. I use it all the time. I use it for radishes. I use it when I make salads. I use it for Brussels sprouts, like a lot of things I use for it. Okay, so the apples are done. If you're cooking along, then you're probably still cutting your apples, but I'm going to keep moving because I know that time, we don't want to run out of time. I don't want to go too over on the time, and we still have to make the couscous. So we're going to make the crumb topping, and that's super easy. I'm going to take a 1/2 cup of flour. Okay. 1/2 cup of flour, and you're going to put it right into, I'm using the mini Cuisinart just because I don't need to use the big one because we're making a little amount. 3/4 cup of brown sugar. And you can use light or dark. I generally use light brown sugar over dark brown sugar. Just has less, the light brown sugar has less molasses in it. That's it. And I know what 3/4 looks like. Okay. And then we're going to do 4 tablespoons of margarine, which I have already cut. Where's my margarine? Right here. 4 tablespoons of margarine, and you want the margarine.
Substitute butter if you want, or margarine has to be it.
Oh, no, you could use butter, but because this is kosher, we're not mixing the dairy and the meat.
Oh, got it. Wait, but there's, you mean because of the chicken dish or not having to do with the apple pie?
Because we're having chicken, so we wanted the whole meal kosher.
Got it. Okay.
So you want to use butter?
You could use like a plant-based butter too, right? If you don't want to bake with margarine.
This is just crumb topping. You can use whatever you like. So tonight I'm using margarine, but you could use plant-based, you could use regular butter, really whatever you like, for sure. So you just put everything in there, and then we're going to put in the cinnamon and the nutmeg. So just a little cinnamon, a little nutmeg. And this is just making like your basic crumb topping. We'll put a little of that and a little cinnamon. And then you're just going to pulse it. What you don't want is you don't want to whip it so that it turns into like a paste. You want it to be a crumbly topping. Okay. So I use the pulse until it becomes like crumbly, like the sand on the beach. That's what I say. Crumbly sand, unless you're in a beautiful island and the sand is all perfectly smooth. All right, that's done. So it looks like that. See how it's kind of chunky? And that's it. There's your crumb topping. We're going to now do the puff pastry and assemble it. All right. I'm going to move this out of the way. So for the puff pastry, I don't have the luxury of having perfect squares. Like when I was a pastry chef, we would buy puff pastry squares. So they were a perfect 4x4 square. But we don't have the luxury of having access to that. So we're just buying puff pastry. And I already rolled out. Your puff pastry is just going to come in sheets. You don't have to roll it out. It's already the right thickness. I just have this one ready to go. And all you're going to do is take a knife or a pastry cutter, and you're just going to cut. I'm going to make 2 right now, just so you can see 2 squares. Okay. So I'm just going to cut it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You just make 2 squares. This recipe, I think, makes 6 tarts. So I'm just making 2 just for the sake of time. And so that you can see. Okay. All right. There's 2 ways you can have a silpat, which is what this is. Okay. Or you can use parchment. So I have both, so you can see. The parchment paper you can buy at Big Y. The silpat you can get at a cook store. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it anywhere now. I like to use the silpat because nothing sticks to it. You don't need to spray it. You don't need to do anything. It's great for baking cookies. It's good for everything. You're going to take your tarts and you're just going to build them. So what you're going to do is you're just going to go from the center. You place your first one. I don't know if you guys can see that well.
Yeah,
you can see. Okay. And you're just going to go around in circles. Kind of nice and tightly packed. They don't have to be, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Can we zoom in at all to see better?
I will. I'm going to zoom in once I finish it so you can see what I did.
Kind of like a pinwheel kind of thing?
Exactly, a pinwheel. Can you see that?
Oh, pretty.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So that's really easy. So this is a really impressive dessert. I used to own a restaurant in West Hartford Center, and this dessert was on the menu the whole time that we were open. I could never take it off.
I loved your restaurant.
Oh, thank you. So this dessert was on the menu all the time, even though apple season would be over, I could never take it off. It was probably the most popular dessert. And we made it exactly how we're making it tonight. So, except that I served it with caramel sauce. But we're not going to use caramel tonight because I couldn't find any caramel that was parve. That's it. Pretty easy, right? It's easy and it's impressive. Like, this is a dessert you could make. So what you could do is, if you were having a dinner party, you could make 6 of these or 8 of them ahead of time, just built like this, and put them in the fridge, put the topping on them, and throw them in the oven when you're ready to serve them. So it's very easy. It's a very easy dessert. Oops, just got a little mess over here. So now you're just going to put the crumb topping on. Okay. And I like to be generous with it, because that's the only flavor that the tart has. Okay. And you're done. That dessert is ready to go.
Huh.
That's it. You see?
Wow.
All right. Any questions about the tart?
You don't cover the whole surface, you just do the middle?
Yeah, I'm pretty much covered the whole surface. I have it. Yeah. It doesn't have to, you don't have to have it perfect. So I'm going to show you here if I can. Let me see. Oops.
Don't worry about it. Okay.
There we go.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
okay.
Nice.
You just throw it on. Just, you don't need to worry about it being perfect.
Looks
all right.
gorgeous. The mandolin is the trick.
Isn't that light is really bright over there. Okay. That goes in the oven. I'm going to set the timer for 15 minutes. Okay. 15 minutes on the timer. Okay. And now we're going to finish with the couscous, which is pretty quick. All right. Another thing you want to do is always clean as you go so that your area is neat and clean and organized. The worst thing, like for me, I get super stressed out when I'm cooking with other people at their houses, and it's just like a mess everywhere. I can't do it. I'd rather just not cook. Like, okay. So that's like a pet peeve of mine. Start your next prep or your next thing. Get everything you need at first. Mise en place means everything in its place. It's exactly what it means in French. So everything should be in its place before you start the next thing. So I'm going to take this away since we're done with that. I'm going to get everything for couscous. Okay. So here we go. So for the couscous, I like the Osam Israeli couscous brand for Israeli couscous. I think it just tastes great. I don't know. Some brands are different. That's the one I like. All right. First, we're going to start with boiling. I'm using chicken stock. You can use water. You can use veg stock. You can use a bouillon cube. Whatever your preference for the liquid is.
What was the brand of couscous?
Osam.
Awesome. I know. Okay.
They sell it at Big Y. They sell it at the Crown.
Yeah.
Yep. And they sell regular couscous as well. So for the Israeli couscous, it could not be simpler. This is really easy to make. And for some reason, people always think Israeli couscous is difficult to make. It's literally just the cooking time. So you're going to start by, I want to bring the chicken stock to a boil. Which is 1 1/4 cup. Okay. And we're going to throw that right on the stove and just bring it to a boil. That burner is quick. Okay. We're going to let that come to a boil. And in the meantime, I'm going to use another pan. Again, I'm using regular stainless steel. I'm not using Teflon. I'm not using anything fancy. And I'm going to put that on the stove. And I'm going to turn it on medium-high heat. And I'm going to put the teeniest bit of olive oil in the bottom of the pan. okay? And then I'm gonna take my entire bag of couscous. Or I'm gonna do, this recipe is for 1 cup, so I'll follow that and do the 1 cup. We'll do 1 cup, because it's 1 cup, for every cup of couscous, it's 1 1/4 cup of liquid. All right. Move that out of the way. So we'll do 1 cup, gonna measure that. Okay, and I'm gonna put that right into my saucepan.
Okay, I have a question. You just measured that in a liquid measure. Explain
I was
that.
going to say the same thing.
It's okay. It's okay. It's not like baking with flour where you need to use a regular cup measure. You can still use the liquid measure. It's going to work. It's going to be.
Does that cup not work for measuring flour as well?
But you know what? People who bake, when I bake, I don't do it with a measuring cup, with that for liquid measuring cup. I use a regular measuring cup. It doesn't work perfect. It's almost exactly the same. It's almost exactly the same. But science people will tell you it's not, because liquid measure doesn't measure the same as dry. I don't know.
But the rule of thumb is you use that glass measuring cup for liquid and the cups for dry, correct?
But when it comes to something like couscous, that's more for baking. I have never had a problem. I make couscous 2 to 3 times a week, and it always comes out perfect. So I think that
And
that's.
Deb, what did you? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
What did you say the ratio was, like stock to couscous? What was the ratio? 1 to 1?
1 cup of couscous to 1 1/4 cup liquid.
1 1/4. Okay.
Couscous, it's 2 1/2 cups of liquid. Yep. So all I did was I put in the couscous into the pan, and I toast it. I just toast it for about 2 minutes, or until your liquid is boiling. As soon as the liquid's boiling, my stock, I'm going to pour the stock right into this pan. We're almost there. And you don't want to leave the couscous in the pan here too high, because it can burn. So I'm just going to turn it down a little bit. But what this step does, and this step is not going to be on the back of your box on the couscous, but it's what I've experienced, and from my experience in cooking, doing this little step with toasting the couscous gives the couscous a little bit of a nice smoky toasted flavor. So it kind of changes it a little bit. Not everybody does that step. I prefer it, but if you don't like it, you certainly don't have to do it. Things that I put in my couscous are cucumbers, tomatoes, and because of time tonight, I'm not going to chop all this, but you could cut any vegetable you want. Parsley, cilantro, diced onion, and you could throw everything into the couscous once it's cooked, mix it all together, spices, anything you like. There's no right or wrong way to do it. All right, the stock is boiling, so I simply add it right to my pan. And I'm just going to give it a quick stir. And I'm going to cover it for about 8 minutes. And at 8 minutes, I'll check it. Sometimes it needs 10, sometimes it needs 9, sometimes 8 is enough. So at 8, I like to check it. It never really needs more than 10. So you want to close it, turn your heat all the way down to simmer. And let's see where we're at. Oh, how funny is that? We're on 8 minutes on the timer for the tarts. So now I don't have to set another timer. Perfect. That's it. So what I'm going to do now, get everything moved away so that we can plate it and I can show you the final product. Anyone have any questions?
Is the chicken still cooking or did you turn that off?
Oh, no, I turned the chicken off a long time ago because that would have been, we would have been eating rubber chicken.
Okay.
And I hear my kids coming downstairs because they think it's time to eat and she's hungry. You want to let?
Oh, let him eat.
I'll let them have a little chicken.
We don't care. We're family. They're probably adorable to see.
They're like,
Where are they?
right. So I'm gonna just
They
give
don't
them
have their couscous yet.
the couscous isn't ready, so they're not gonna be able to eat that yet. But I'll let them have some of this right now. Here, Izzy.
Izzy, let's see your face.
I
Can
feel
we
like
see
we're in
your
your house.
Come say hi.
Come on, Izzy.
Probably know half the people on the.
We do.
Deb, can we see it? Hi.
Hi, Izzy.
Hi, Izzy.
Izzy, we're a little jealous. We want your mom's cooking. We're all hungry.
I came back from stores just for to cook you dinner. That's right.
That's awesome.
Can
There
we
you
see
go.
it plated, Deb? With the wait before you give it away.
Wait, is that Troy?
Oh, nice, Jessica. The poor kids are starving.
Probably
And that is the.
done.
So you put the onions right on top of it on the grill.
Yeah, I just put it right.
Warm.
I know you did. Come here.
Deb,
Beautiful.
do you plate your dinners every night?
Okay, well, I have to go get Ella.
Deb, do you plate your dinners every night for your family?
Plate it every night. I kind of leave it and let them take what
And
they
let
want.
them take. Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes I do. If it's just my husband and I, then I would do. I do plate it. I like to do the presentation. It's just like habit. But the kids, they kind of like to take what they want. So
They're all grown up.
they're all grown up. I know.
I like how it looks when it's plated. It looks so pretty.
Yeah, and this would look better when if you had your couscous with cucumbers and tomatoes and like color in it. The dishes doesn't have any color, so that's. But for time reasons, I'm not gonna have time to do the tomatoes and the cucumbers tonight.
So the tomatoes and the cucumbers are not cooked. You put them in after? Or do
I
you
put
cook them?
They're not cooked. They're not cooked. Correct.
But you put them in the hot couscous?
You can, you mean in the pan, in the pot?
No, but like when you mix it, the couscous is still warm. Yeah.
When the warm, that's when I mix all the veggies in, the parsley, like you can chop parsley. That's when you're going to mix it in, is when it's warm. But you can also serve this as a cold couscous salad. So if you wanted to, I've served it cold with cucumbers, tomatoes, a little lemon juice, olive oil, cilantro. It's a really nice side dish, and it doesn't have to be hot. So
it's kind of like it's kind of like a tabbouleh salad, only with more of like the al dente because it's the pasta.
So I'm actually ready because, believe it or not, even though there's 4 minutes left, my oven's on convection, so my cooking quicker. Have a convection oven. You're going to cut down about 5 minutes off your cooking time on your pastry. So I'm going to go ahead and plate the apple tart first because it's ready. Can you please stop talking? I tell them to stop talking. All right. 5 more minutes.
Question on your couscous. Did you boil the stock separately and then you added it to the couscous with the oil? Okay, I feel like I missed that somewhere. Okay.
It's easier to add the boiling liquid to the. So I have an electric water kettle. So sometimes I'll just boil the water. And
okay, I missed that. Got it.
Print out the recipes. It's there.
I saw, well, that's why I was just looking at the recipe and I saw that was a separate step, but I didn't remember that in the teaching here.
Yeah. If we serve the couscous the next day, should we wait to put the add-ins in?
You can prepare it the day of with the add-ins, put it in the fridge and then reheat it. It depends. If you're using cucumbers and tomatoes, then you might not want to do that. You're not going to reheat it. You'd probably be serving it room temperature or cold. But if you're putting in things like onions, garlic, and making it more of a hot dish and you want to do it a day ahead, then yeah, you could absolutely reheat it, bring it back up to temperature. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to show you how I plate this one. It actually came out perfect. They look really beautiful. So that's what it looks like.
Oh, pretty.
And then you could do non-dairy ice cream like soy, or you could do ice cream, whatever you like as a topping. Creme fraiche is really good. Just right on top. And then I would drizzle a little warm caramel over that. Sprinkle a little cinnamon on the top. And that's, that's a pretty impressive dessert for what, a 10-minute prep time?
Nice.
Very.
Looks
Yeah.
delicious. My mouth is watering.
So good.
I would have that for dinner.
Me too.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything else just
Somebody's
eat that.
taking
Me
it.
too.
The hardest part is my mandolin and not chopping off my fingers.
Yeah, I'm afraid of a mandolin.
Me too. I use it, but I'm not very good at it.
I'm gonna check on the couscous.
You gotta get one.
What was the base again? Puff pastry?
It's puff
Yeah.
pastry, puff pastry square. You can go there, you're fine. All right, so
That is simple.
yeah, we got about 1.5 minutes left because the liquid I can see it's about 1.5 minutes away. So if you want to ask some questions now, because I know that we're running a little late, that's fine. If you have any other questions that weren't answered, I'm happy to do that while we're waiting for the couscous.
It's like waiting for water to boil, right?
I know. Yeah, it's got 1:12 seconds. So.
When you said you got the Japanese mandolin at the Japanese market, did you mean in Blueback?
Yep, the one at across from Whole Foods.
Around behind my office. I'm there once a week.
Want to tell us a little bit about your cordon bleu experience?
That experience was truly amazing. I went to Syracuse undergraduate and I was a fashion major and was in New York City and totally disheartened with the fashion industry and quit my job and started working for a catering company and decided like, this is what I want to do. I want to go get a culinary degree. So I decided to move to Paris. I had a friend who's actually a Jewish family who took me in as one of their own and let me live with them for a year while I went to school in Paris. Lovely, lovely family. They were from Algeria. So they were Sephardic Jews. And they kept Shabbat and it was a very interesting time for me. But the culinary school experience was amazing. I learned really classic technique, knife skills, stocks, all those kind of things. But the funny thing is when you come out of culinary school and you go to that first job, you really have no idea what you're doing. So here you are with your fancy, Parisian degree. And they're like, do you know how to shuck oysters? Can you shuck 50 oysters in a half an hour? And you're like, no. That was kind of eye-opening, but nonetheless, it was a great experience. And I had been telling some people before on this Zoom that I went to the Cordon Bleu the year before Giada De Laurentiis went. So she went there the year after me and I was laughing because it's very small. Like the class is very small. There's not a ton of people. Maybe now it's bigger, but when I went, it was small. It was in 1995. So I said, wow, that would have been great. I could have been friends with Giada. I could have gotten on the Food Network. But she wasn't in my class. So
you should still connect her. You're both alum.
Yeah.
Right. That's true.
By the way, I think she
Alisha,
looks a
is
lot
that-
older than you.
Is that Olivia with you?
I'm sorry. She looks older than me.
Yes.
I have no idea how old she is. I don't
You
know.
must be around the same age if you went in and around the
Well,
same time.
I had my big birthday in July, so I just turned 50. So I don't
know how old she is.
Are you?
I'm going to look it up.
I don't know how old she is.
Happy
This should-
birthday.
Thank you. This should be ready. So I'm going to plate this for everyone to see. I like
I think she's around that age, Giada. I think
Is she 50?
She's either in her upper 40s or approaching. I think so.
Did you get in touch with any of your classmates?
You know what? I haven't. Everybody was from all over the world and all over the country. We haven't. Been back to Paris once or twice since I went to school there. All right, I'm just gonna play this for you.
So, are you still in touch with the family you stayed with?
Yes, I am actually. The father died, but the mom, Jacqueline, and her son David and I are good friends. So yeah, they're such a lovely family. So you just put the couscous, you can put it in the middle, you can put it on the side, whatever you'd like. And then I'm just gonna put some chicken and onions right on it. And there's tonight's dinner.
Yum. It's so good.
We're all coming over.
It would look better garnish it with a little fresh parsley or something green because it is very, monochromatic, and I like the dish to have some color. You want this? Okay.
Is that dish number 2 for someone?
Yes. So anyhow, that is
I think it's really funny that your kids are there. It feels like we're in your kitchen.
I know.
I think we are in your kitchen.
They're like making faces at me that they want to eat the ice cream out of the container with a spoon, and they're, trying to get them. My 14-year-old, that's,
Please, so
Right,
right?
right?
By the way,
I'm sorry.
we're so okay with it all.
But anyhow,
I love that. That adds to the intimacy of the evening, with your kids in the kitchen like that. It does.
Yeah, of course. It's lovely.
Thank you.
All right.
Debbie, thank you so much. This was so nice. And we all remember Mediza well. Like I miss that chopped salad you used to have with the carrots and the chickpeas. I still dream about that.
It was so good.
Oh,
I know, we
so
missed
good.
that.
Well, I have a
Thank
better
you
one.
so much. This was
Dick-
really nice.
Dick
really
and I
nice.
met at Mediza.
I feel very honored that you asked me to do this and to be with everybody. I really, really enjoyed it. I hope you did too.
We loved it.
We loved it. We loved it. Just sorry we couldn't be in person.
Yes, and sorry for the internet glitch in the middle.
Oh no, what can you do? Things happen. But thank you so much, Debbie. We had a great time, and I'm sure we're all looking forward to making it on our own, though Carolyn has already made it. So maybe we'll come to her house for dinner too.
Yeah. Make it. Text me a picture.
I'm looking forward to having a new dish in my repertoire. I'm so bored of what I cook.
Me too, Alisha. I need these new things. And you know what? Everything you made looks so manageable.
Yeah.
It really is. There's nothing complicated about this. This is anything where you need to have knife skills, where you need to this is something any home chef can make.
That's what we are. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Maybe you'll come back in the spring and we'll do another menu.
I would love
maybe in person, actually. That would be lovely. So I'm Dana Keller, and I'm the chair of the board of Federation. And I want to thank all the Lion of Judah for being here, the Lions of Judah for being here. Your commitment to this community is just so beautiful. And